Hello, Year 8. Just another lesson on how to make notes from your textbook. You've got this page here, page 54, 55. Today we're looking at reacting elements. So I know most of you, or a lot of you, have done this actually in the laboratory, right? We've looked at magnesium and oxygen burning. We've probably looked at iron and sulfur burning as well. Now, the thing is, a lot of those, when we react elements together, they become something else called compounds. And we're going to look at actually how we know a compound's been made and what do we call these compounds? What are the names of these compounds when they react with different elements? So first of all, I'd like you to make sure you've got in your notebook your title, reacting elements. We're learning about making compounds. Okay. So the first main things that we need you to have in your textbook. Okay. For your notes, actually the two key words that we need for this are compounds. It actually tells you what a compound is here. And also the other key word is formula. So formula was up here somewhere. Where was it? Formula, yeah. MgO is the formula for magnesium oxide. It tells us that magnesium oxide is a compound, not an element, and that it contains magnesium atoms and oxygen atoms. So there's what a formula is. I want you to write down that as well. So a compound is represented by a formula that shows the ratio of different atoms in the compound. Okay, so if we take one of these compounds, we take magnesium oxide, actually, there's one you know, MgO. We know it's a compound because it's got magnesium in it and it's got oxygen in it. And the ratio here is actually we've only got one atom of magnesium to one atom of oxygen. If we take another compound, let's say this one, H2O, the ratio here is different. It's not 1 to 1, it's 2 to 1. So we have 2 atoms of hydrogen to 1 atom of oxygen. If there is only 1 atom of oxygen in the compound, we don't put a number next to it. We don't say H2O1. We just assume that if there's no number, there is only 1 atom there. Okay? If there's any more than 2, we have to put the number. Okay, so there's what the formula actually means. It's a ratio of the number of different atoms in that compound. Okay, so for your notes, keywords done. Now, in terms of naming compounds, there's some rules in chemistry we have to follow. So if a compound contains oxygen, we actually call it an oxide. So MgO, the name for this compound would be magnesium oxide because it contains oxygen. If magnesium reacted with sulfur, we'd call it magnesium sulfide. If it reacted with chlorine, it would be called magnesium chloride. Bromine, bromide, fluorine, fluoride. So it's really important that we follow these rules. So this needs to be in your notes as well. That's a really important part of this lesson. Okay, so let's try, in your books, we're going to try and answer these questions again. So A, do you think a chemical reaction has taken place for this reaction here? So we're looking at these pictures. What is the appearance of the reactants? And then what's the appearance of the products? Have they changed at all? Do we know that a chemical reaction has taken place because the appearance has changed? Well, yes, we do. Its properties have completely changed. It's a different substance. Magnesium plus oxygen goes to magnesium oxide, which has a different appearance. It's got a white powdery substance, white powdery texture to it. It's no longer a metal. Okay. B, what compound will form when oxygen reacts with calcium and silver? So if you take this information over here to answer this question, we know magnesium and oxygen forms magnesium oxide. So what does calcium and silver form? Okay. Question C. Knowing what we know about formula, which of these substances here in this box are actually compounds? Okay, just write down which ones of those you think are actually compounds. D. Magnesium and sulfur react in a similar way to hydrogen and sulfur. Okay. So what is the word equation for the reaction of magnesium and sulfur, not hydrogen and sulfur? Can you tell me that? Last one, E. Predict the products of the reaction of magnesium with each of these three elements. So you're going to need to use this table here to answer that question. So chlorine and magnesium reacting together would form what compound? Magnesium what? Okay, and write down those three compounds that are formed with those reactions. Okay, so a shorter one today, but what I'm going to do is set you some questions to answer as a group, either the help, so slightly easier questions, the core, or extension. Okay, and this will be in your breakout rooms. You're going to work on these questions together to try and come up with the answers and post them in the chat for me so that I can see what you've put. Okay, thank you, Ray.